Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Julia, and I'm here with Alex, and we are here representing Cephable. We're going to talk today about moving digital interaction beyond keyboard and mouse. So we'll jump into a couple of introductions, and then we'll get started.
So, hey everyone, I'm Alex Dunn. I'm the founder and CEO of Cephable. My background is in mostly historically enterprise AI and things like new types of human-computer interactions with voice and computer vision and all sorts of stuff. And I got focused in the assistive technology space in supporting a younger brother of mine with a disability and trying new inputs to play games and do his schoolwork more easily. And that's sort of what really grew into what Cephable is today. So I'm excited to walk you through a little bit more about how the platform works, how you can use it, show you some of the functionality, show you some of our users using it as well, and what we can all be doing together. Julia, you want to introduce yourself too?
Yeah, I'm Julia Franklin, Chief Learning Officer and also a speech language pathologist. Have a background working with a variety of individuals, ages, stages of life, private practice, interprofessional education, and have just always been an advocate for working across disciplines and with different folks from different backgrounds and bringing everything that we learn out of the therapy room into functional application, which really has been exciting to come into a tech company and come from a strengths-based model. So users can bring what they can do so that we can provide new opportunities.
Awesome. Let's jump in a little bit into what Cephable actually is and what it does and how folks use it. The way to think about Cephable is it's a software platform, and it's both an assistive technology and an accessibility technology. What that means is that individuals can use Cephable to control all forms of their sort of digital life, the apps they want to use, the games they want to play, the work they need to do, and really everything in between, with new types of inputs that they can personalize for themselves, with things like virtual buttons that I could set up on my phone or my tablet to be able to tap to do things on my computer. Adaptive voice controls that adapt to your speech over time so it gets more accurate and is also inclusive of folks with speech impairments or speech differences as well. We also have camera-based inputs for things like face expressions, head movements, tilting, turning, leaning, raising your eyebrows, opening your mouth, smiling, stuff like that. We also have support for expanding on physical switch devices, and then even being able to take a phone or a tablet and use motion as an input. So think of moving your mouse by rotating a phone or a tablet, or shaking your tablet to delete something that you're writing on your computer. And people use Cephable for a lot of different things. And we say that it's an assistive technology platform because people use it as their primary form of digital AT and replace a lot of other tools that they're using or paying for as well. But it's also an accessibility platform because you can also integrate Cephable's controls into your own applications, websites, video games, and everything in between, or even your own devices as developers or as enterprises in order to expand your level of accessibility to one that's more personalized for each individual and ultimately reaching and supporting more folks in the disability community. Some key things to know about Cephable: there's no new hardware required. You can download the app on Windows, on a PC, and on Mac. You can also download the companion app on iOS and Android from the Google Play Store and from the App Store. You don't need to purchase any special cameras or microphones. Anything you already have, you should be able to use. So when running your speech recognition for voice controls, it's all happening on your computer or from your phone or tablet. And when you're running the camera-based inputs for face expressions and head movement, that's all just running from your webcam or even from your phone's camera. But let's show you a little bit of some of our users actually using Cephable in everyday use cases. They're always a little bit different from each other too, which is always pretty fun. This video, we do have English, audio, and text video descriptions available. They're not in this specific video, but we'll also make sure that those are shared as well. So let's go ahead and play it and take a look at how some folks use Cephable.
Host. Type Happy International Day of People with Disabilities. Open PowerPoint. New slide.
Scroll down. Stop. Type "that concludes our findings," period. Open Excel.
Brush.
So we got to see a lot of the different inputs in action there, from Sarah Todd scrolling through LinkedIn by tilting her head forward to then using voice controls with dictation and switching apps. We saw Adam playing Fall Guys using his face and also some virtual buttons that he was able to tap on an iPad on his lap. We even saw some other interesting use cases like Vasant, who was able to automatically mute himself on a Zoom call by just turning his head to the right so that he could talk to someone who was looking over his shoulder and then come back and automatically unmute himself. Or we also saw things like being able to use Photoshop and use voice controls for switching all the things you would use keyboard shortcuts for while focusing on using your right hand for the brush and really everything else that you can use Cephable for. Really, Cephable was built both for individuals and for companies with inclusive goals. It's completely free for individuals. You can download the app right now for anything non-commercial use. And really the big focus for us in doing that is not just in creating the best assistive technology that we can, but also working towards eliminating what we call the disability tax, which is the tax put on individuals who have to purchase their own assistive tech or their own accommodations tools in order to use their computers and other digital tools the way that they should be able to out of the box by purchasing it. So instead of having to go pay for your own assistive tech, you can download Cephable, create a free account, use all of the features in an unlimited fashion, entirely free. And then for businesses, we license the software basically to integrate even further. So you can integrate it into your games, into your apps, into your own devices, whatever it might be, so that users can bring their personalized Cephable controls to your platforms so that they can do more than just keyboard and mouse interaction, so that you can empower them to do all the things like we just showed in that video, like making Photoshop more accessible with these new types of controls, or working in your meeting software to make it more accessible. It also is something that we support with companies as rolling out as part of their employee accommodations tools as well. So a couple other notes around what is often brought up when we talk about software that uses your camera and microphone and is connected to the internet, and that's the data privacy and security, which we take extremely seriously. So a couple major things to know. The camera and the microphone never connect online. They run entirely offline. Your audio is never streamed or recorded, and that's intentional both for your own security and privacy and control over your data, but also because assistive technology shouldn't turn off when the internet does. And we want you to be able to use Cephable without an internet connection as well. The only things that do save online are your user account and your preferences and settings that are managed across your devices. That way you can use your phone's camera to communicate to your PC or your Mac and basically have all those things tied together and managed in a secure way that are tied to your account. So let me show you what the app interface looks like and some of the quick functionality. I won't do any of the demos of actually using it because you saw some of those already, but I also want to show you how easy it is to manage and configure and personalize Cephable too. So switching over to the desktop app, I'm now in the Mac app and I'm already in an existing account that's signed in. And on my dashboard, we can see there's a welcome page. I have a current profile for my device that's called my Mac. The current profile is called Microsoft Word. I see large buttons that say start microphone and start camera, and also that I can swap my controls with the drop-down option. I can also see buttons for adding a profile, viewing my current profile, and scrolling down, there's all sorts of resources for settings, step-by-step guides, and stuff like that. The way that Cephable works is you create and manage different control profiles based off of what you're trying to do and what your goals are for the device you're controlling. In this case, it's my Mac. We can actually let Cephable's AI generate some of these controls for me by just simply describing what I'm trying to do. Or I can use existing templates that are built by the Cephable team for different types of games or applications or use cases. And of course, you can always start from scratch as well. Our big focus is on making it easy to do these configurations, but never compromising on your ability to customize and be as flexible as you want to. So let's go ahead and just look at generating a set of controls. So I'm on a page now that says generate a control profile. There's a text field that says to type the name of the app you want to control. There's a list of checkboxes for the different inputs I want to use, like voice, head movement, face expressions, motion controls, and virtual buttons. And then there's a third step open text box that says to describe any specific actions you'd like to have set up for commands you commonly use or strong preference for. Please use plain English like the ones below. And there's samples like saying, make sure the voice commands are short, or I want to be able to say forward to go to the next slide in the presentation, or I want to use head movement for moving the cursor and voice controls for editing shortcuts, just as some examples. So let's, for example, try to create a set of controls for PowerPoint. So I'm going to say I want Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm going to select that I want voice controls and head movement and virtual buttons. And now in this open-ended text box, I can type whatever I want. Some folks even say things like, I can't use my left arm, so give me voice control shortcuts for everything I'd be using my left hand for. But let's say we want to be even more specific, and I can say things like, when I tilt my head to the right, it should go to the next slide, and give me voice control shortcuts for editing things. And then there's a button here that I'm clicking called Generate Controls, and now it says we're putting together all the pieces. This usually takes about 10 seconds for Cephable to generate your controls for you. It's also showing some tips on the page while you're sitting here waiting. And so what's happening behind the scenes is Cephable is looking at how you use these new types of inputs and of course all the information you just filled out, and basically matching that up to the types of controls that you might be using in that application. So while we used PowerPoint for this example, you can also think of things like games, like I want to play Minecraft and I want to be able to move my character when I move my head, and just simply describing all those different things. So now we can see the profile that was generated and a whole list of controls from next slide, bold text, italicized text, underline, copy, paste, stuff like that. If I click on the next slide one, we'll see that it added the head movement of tilt your head right, just like I asked, and also a voice command for next slide, and that it's doing the same thing as hitting the right arrow key, which is how I would advance the slide. But we have voice control shortcuts for all sorts of different things. But there's also this one interesting one that it created for save document, where I have the voice control of save, I have a button that I could tap called save, and it also added open your mouth as save. Now, this isn't something I asked it to do. The only specific gesture that I wanted to try was tilting my head, but it gave this to me anyway. And that's because Cephable knows that I often use opening my mouth to save across the different controls that I create. Because it's something that I like to do automatically all the time, so that while I'm using voice controls, I'm opening my mouth and it's saving for me. So it even knew that I was doing that in a sort of common fashion and added it back too. So that's all you have to do. You just describe the type of applications you want to use Cephable for, and then you start using your microphone, your camera, or your mobile app as well for all the different inputs that work best for you. Taking you back to the presentation, Julia, why don't you take it from here and share a little bit more of some of our user stories as well?
Absolutely. So I just want to highlight through some user stories that Cephable can be used for so many different use cases, from as simple as a one-click game to an individual who needs to use Cephable across a variety of different tools. So a couple of examples. We had the opportunity to work with a teenager and experience his first time ever playing a one-click browser game. He had never had the option to play a game. He was primarily a non-speaking individual and wasn't able to access a traditional gaming controller, but he was able to use Cephable. The game was basically hitting the space bar to shoot a basketball, and we were able to take his primary means of vocalizing, which were vowel sounds, and map any vowel sound to the space bar so that he could successfully play that game, which was really exciting. So that one-click example compared to another one of our users, she is a law student, and she has a large suite of assistive technology of different tools that she uses for her schoolwork to be able to take her exams. And when she found Cephable, she's been able to simplify that suite down to use fewer tools, since we have the option to use so many different types of AT in one platform. In addition, we have another user who's a technical writer who traditionally uses her keyboard and a mouse on a day-to-day basis, but she does have some chronic pain flare-ups where she needs to use more voice controls on certain days when her pain is at a peak. And so she's found it helpful to have the option to use her keyboard on the days that she needs to, or offload some of that demand on her hands using the Cephable voice controls and dictation also. And another gamer, one more example, we can't forget him. He also uses a keyboard and a mouse, but in his own way. He doesn't use the keyboard traditionally with both of his hands, but he uses a pencil and the end and an eraser to hit one key at a time due to his motor abilities. And so he's been able to layer on Cephable voice controls and face expressions in addition to using his keyboard one key at a time at the same time. So all of those examples speak to some of these ideas of how we bring different types of assistive technology into one app to be able to increase an individual's productivity, increase their employability. When the keyboard and the mouse has traditional means of using a keyboard and a mouse has taken away some independence from individuals, whether that's on a temporary basis, whether that's progressive disability, whether that's episodic. It's just been really exciting to see our users even find different use cases for Cephable too. And so how do you join our mission? We have lots of different ways that you can get involved as we're continuing to develop and move forward. So we mentioned we have our individual users. It's free for individuals used for non-commercial purposes to augment or replace the keyboard and a mouse, depending on the use case. And we also have our consortium, which is our user advisory board. We call them our power users, and we work directly with them and our engineering team to really drive forward our roadmap. And we also partner with community organizations through a non-revenue partnership who serve those individuals who are part of the disability industry. And we share Cephable through newsletters. We share those organizations with our community. We co-author thought leadership, and they can list Cephable as a tool in their listings and try to provide as much reciprocal value through organizations that share the same mission as us.
And for enterprises looking to integrate Cephable's controls in order to reach and support more users with disabilities, we have the ability to license the software through API integration, so you can add the controls directly into your apps or as part of an employee accommodations tool as well. So being able to either offset existing costs on other AT that you're paying for, but really it's about both supporting your employees with more access and also supporting your customers with new levels of personalized accessibility too.
So we just wanted to end with a couple of pictures of some of our users. She is a powered chair user and has an extraordinary set of computers in front of her, different screens. And we have caregivers that support our users also in one of the other pictures on screen. A couple of our community partner organizations are the Able Gamers, Charity Makers Making Change, and the state level assistive tech programs like North Carolina. And a couple of the businesses we're working with are Intel and Accenture. So we have created a page for you to get some follow-up resources, cephable.com/ACAW. You'll be able to download the slides and have a couple of the links to the other resources that we've mentioned here in this presentation. So Alex, anything else you'd like to say to wrap us up?
No, thank you all so much for your time and interest. And, we encourage you to try Cephable for yourself and for the folks that you work with, and join us in the movement that we're creating, in the community that we're creating too, towards a more inclusive and empowering future for everyone. So thank you all so much for the time.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.